Hello and welcome to my EWC predictions. As you can see, we've got 4 groups here, Group A, Group B, Group C, and Group D. Let's make sure we give a quick shout out to Cody VRL. If you want to make your predictions, go to x.com or Twitter and go to @CodyVRL and then look for this comment, EWC 2025 prediction sheets, and then a link to it is in the thread here. So make sure, if you want a copy, all you need to do is click that link and then make a copy of it. So thanks to Cody for creating this spreadsheet for us, or for everyone to use. All right, let's talk about Group A. NRG, Football, Karmine Corp, and Virtus Pro. Arguably the easiest to predict quadrant for the first round. I do think NRG probably sweep Foot. I think there's a world where Foot get a game or maybe even 2 because NRG doesn't start very strongly. But I have a lot of faith in Beast Mode right now. I think Beast Mode's hitting a nice peak, so I don't think Foot's gonna take a game off of them. Karmine Corp versus Virtus Pro. I think same story. I really don't expect Virtus Pro to pick up a game on Karmine Corp. I'm still very high on this team, even though they had a pretty poor Raleigh performance based on their standard. They're still top 8, but yeah, not good for their standard when they're often considered the best team in the world. So where's that put the upper bracket final? I do think early on in the tournament, Karmine Corp beats NRG, probably 3-1. Karmine Corp typically starts pretty strong. NRG starts pretty slow. I think this would be a good beatdown for NRG, and they're going to kind of have to take that and go with it. But I could totally see a world where NRG beats Karmine Corp in a best-of-5 series. I just don't think, realistically, I think Karmine Corp takes it, which then puts Foot and Virtus Pro in the lower bracket. I like Virtus Pro here, but let's give it a 3-2. I actually like Virtus Pro for the reverse sweep. That'll be my prediction, right? Foot comes out, wins the first 2 games. Virtus Pro then reverse sweeps them to take their spot. That sets up NRG versus Virtus Pro. I do believe that NRG is going to scare us a little bit and give a game to Virtus Pro, but then they're going to lock in and get it. And so Karmine and NRG qualify for Group A. Does anyone have anything different for that? Because I don't really see that being that realistic of a situation where we see Virtus Pro or Foot qualify through over Karmine Corp or over NRG. But you guys let me know. You think that, is there any chance of that happening? Let's talk Group B. Dignitas, Wildcard, Secret, Genji. Now we're getting a little bit more interesting. Now we're getting a little bit more debatable, right? Dignitas, Wildcard, I do think that is probably a 3-0, but I'm going to give it a 3-1 because, like I was saying before, we tend to see Wildcard typically starts pretty strong in these tournaments, but they've been kind of washed, and I don't know if they're going to turn around for EWC. They've been underperforming on my expectations for the season. I was a big Banana Head supporter at the beginning of the season, but it doesn't seem like they've found that next level as a team. And so I think this roster is probably on its way out for the end of this season. Needs to reconfigure, get that team set up. Now here's an interesting one. Team Secret versus Gen G. Team Secret had a poor Birmingham and a monster Raleigh. Gen G didn't really do that well in either. I do think Secret beats Gen G here. I think it's close, but I think Secret, just based on the most recent Rocket League we've seen, beats Gen G here. I'm not surprised if Gen G beats Secret, but I have a good feeling about that Secret team. I think they got the confidence they needed to play on LAN, whereas last time they looked pretty shaky on LAN. So I think Secret goes over Gen G here. Now, let's see. Where's that put? Dignitas, Secret. I do believe Dignitas beats Secret here. Maybe that's close. I'm going to give it a 3-2. I'm going to say maybe that's close. Secret's going to win win a close series and lose a close series. That's my prediction for this Group B. I do believe Gen G is going to beat Wildcard. Is that close or not, though? I'm going to say that's close. I'm going to say Group B might be the most entertaining bracket just based on these matchups feel a little bit closer to me. Now, who's going to win, Secret or Gen G? Probably Secret. I'm sorry, Gen G. I want Gen G to do better, but I do think they're going to get skill diffed by Secret. I don't think Gen G is beating Dignitas realistically unless Dignitas have some sort of mess up. Dignitas has really secured themselves as one of the top 2 to 4 teams in the world, depending on, what you think, but they're pretty much up there now. So for Group B, I have Dignitas and Secret qualifying through. Let's talk Group C. Falcons, GK, Furia, Ultimates. Okay, arguably the most stacked bracket, or group, I should say. So Falcons versus GK. I do expect Falcons to do pretty fantastic this tournament. So let's go ahead and give a 3-1 to Falcons. Wouldn't be surprised if that's a sweep. I would be pretty surprised if GK beat Falcons. I think that, to me, I'm giving like 80 or 90% chance that the Falcons win this series. So if GK wins, I'd be pretty surprised. Not impossible. I think I see it. There's definitely a world where GK peaks and does well here and comes out really strong. But realistically, I think Falcons in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where they're having this EWC, they're going to play well. Furia, Ultimates. This is a tough one, right? Because it really comes down to how well Chronic plays versus how well Lost and Drafinho play. That's really my hot take on that one. If Chronic comes out and plays really strong, I think the Ultimates win. If he's not playing to the best of his ability and LJ and First Killer are playing okay or playing well, I think Furia get this one. So, wow, this is tough. I think I have to give it to Furia here in a close match, 3-2. Wow, this bracket is really unforgiving. I do think Falcons beat Furia here. I think Falcons have a good matchup against Furia, better than many other styles. I think Mina versus Sam is leaning more towards Mina right now based on what we've seen on these head-to-head matchups. So best team in Mina versus best team in Sam. I think the best team in Mina is better right now. I am still a Furia believer, but I do think Falcons would beat them in this setup here. Maybe they won't get to play because maybe Ultimates get that win and then send Furia to the lowers, but I think Falcons are going to send Furia to the lowers. GK versus Ultimates. I do believe that the Ultimates can beat GK here. I don't know if it's going to be a close match or not, but I have a good feeling that the Ultimates are going to have a tough first series and then start playing better after that. And then just to keep things interesting, do we make it so Ultimates beat Furia to take the final spot? Or does Furia beat Ultimates? Man, this is tough. Oh, this group stinks. Why would they do it this way? This is so tough. Oh, this is really... This is really tough for Ultimates. Can they beat Furia? They have to beat Furia pretty much no matter what. Unless they pull off a Swiss, or a similar to Swiss performance from Raleigh, where they beat a little team named Carmine Corps. However, Carmine Corps didn't play that great. Obviously, it ended up losing Game 7 by 1 goal to Twisted Minds in like the last 5 seconds of the game. Oh, I was not anticipating this prediction video to be so difficult to make. I guess I'm going to go down as a Furia believer and a NA disbeliever. I think we get another close match, and I think Furia barely wins. Ultimate should be in the playoffs, but I do think they have to beat either Falcons or Furia to get there. I don't know. I'm not seeing it from them. I do think, oh man, I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this a controversial pick? I really wish I could put Ultimates through, but I think Furia is probably a better team right now. And I think I'm almost positive Falcons is a better team. So you guys let me know what you think. This one kind of hurt me. I'm not going to lie. Let's talk Group D so that way I can move on to the next thing. Vitality, Space Station, Twisted Minds, TSM. Kind of an interesting one. I do think Vitality, Skill Diffs, Space Station. There's probably a world where Space Station takes a game from Vitality, but we didn't really see that spark at Raleigh that I need to see. Whereas Vitality, as it moves towards the end of the season, is really solidifying their play style. I think the fact that Vitality have a really strong play style counter to NRG, they will likely have a relatively strong playstyle counter to Space Station Gaming as well. So I think Vitality is going to sweep Space Station. That's my prediction there. Twisted Minds, TSM. I'm very high on this Twisted Minds team as well. I think they're fantastic, and they're also playing at home, although technically it's just home for Nobu. But it's their home region, so I expect them to do relatively well. TSM, I don't expect them to get a game from there, which then puts Vitality, Twisted, Zen versus Nubo. Oh man, I think I like Zen here. I like Monkey Moon. I like Monkey Moon when he plays the spoiler. When it's his game to shut down somebody, he steps up. He is great at that. That makes it Space Station TSM. I do think Space Station have the skill set to beat TSM. I don't expect that match to be super close, but who knows? Maybe we'll see. Maybe Space Station comes out poorly again and they're just not a LAN team, or they're still getting their LAN experience. So I'm going to go ahead and put Space Station over TSM. Sorry, TSM. I think you're going to kind of go out as probably one of the weaker teams in the tournament out there with Foot. Twisted, Space Station Gaming. I think Twisted Minds is a better team than Space Station Gaming right now. I would love to put Space Station through. Man, I am not putting my NA teams through, am I? I just think Twisted Minds is better than Space Station Gaming right now. I also like that it's a home game for Nubo, and I'm very high on him, as if you saw my top 25 player list. Let's put a nail biter. That feels a little bit better for me. Vitality, Twisted, qualify through. Not super surprising. So you can tell, I don't think any of my picks were super controversial. Maybe putting the Ultimates out is probably the most controversial pick I made. Now, Cody put a note in here that the playoffs are randomized at EWC, so these playoffs are not likely to be correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plan on making a playoff prediction video after the group stage, and I'll do my best to make it and publish it. But no guarantees, because I'm actually going to be on vacation, so I'm going to try to make it, but we'll see if I can get to it. If not, just some thoughts based on this. I really think the Falcons are the favorites. Carmine Core, to me, is still the second place. Vitality is third. NRG is fourth. Twisted Minds is fifth. No. Dignitas is fifth. Twisted Minds is sixth. Furia is seventh, and Secret is eighth. That's kind of my ranking of who I think is most likely to win it. I do anticipate Falcons to win based on their Raleigh performance, and they're playing a home tournament. And I feel like they're going to ride that wave. But I think it's still a competitive game, and we're going to see really high quality. I'm really glad that all these rosters are on here. I believe last year, NRG's roster, when it was on G2, didn't go to this, and they sent a different team from the USA that just wasn't quite up to that top 5 teams in the world par that you need to be to win these type of LAN events. So like I said, not going to make these predictions, but here's how my bracket would go through. Definitely some cinema games no matter what. The only controversial pick I really think I made was probably not letting Ultimates or GK through, but you let me know if Group C, you think it's going to go differently. Would love to get your feedback. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't watched my top 25 player list for EWC, please check it out. It's the most recent video before this one. Thank you for commenting, liking, and subscribing. Let me know your thoughts on all of this. Would love to hear your opinions. Have a great time, and I'll see you in the chat of EWC's broadcast. Bye.